For far too long, Africa has lived through a history of slavery, theft, foreign rule, and the darkest place in human history that the world brought to her doorstep. 400 years later, Africa's scars have birthed a dynamic, onward, and rising people. Join the Inspire E-Conference 2021 as great minds edify on the positioning of the new rising star. Starting on the 9th to the 14th of August. Africa, get ready.
So Apostle Moses Mukisa, fondly known as Apostle Moses, is with us this evening, and he is the lead pastor at Worship Harvest, a multi-site church with 24 campuses and over 12,000 people being discipled in more than 500 missional communities. As a certified John Maxwell team coach and CEO of the Momentum Leadership Group, he is passionate about helping leaders and teams win. He is a founding director with Harvest Institute, Harvest International School, and Harvest Finance, helping the church engage socially and economically with communities wherever it is located. Apostle Moses is also the author of Straightforward Financial Growth, SFFG, a bestseller which has won many awards, including National Book of the Year and National Book of the Year award, and has sold over 7,000 copies. Apostle Moses has written 7 other books in addition to this. He also oversees the SFFG coaching program and seeks to help 1 million people change their financial story to the next generation by helping them practice the fundamentals of wealth creation. So this evening, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Apostle Moses Mukisa as he talks to us about mastering personal finance and wealth. You're most welcome, Apostle Moses.
Thank you so much, Lillian. Thank you so much, the Inspire Synergy team, for inviting me again to be part of this great and necessary conversation. It was great to hear some words there from Bishop Masinde. Thank you, Paul Wafula, the team leader, and everyone. Thank you so much for this great opportunity. And wow, and thank you, Emmanuel. You've been preparing me well for this evening. Thanks to all those who have joined us, and a lot of people are still joining us even now. Good to see everyone joining us as we talk about. We are just going to take this Friday evening, this last session of the Inspire conference, to talk about personal finance, which actually is no longer such a complicated thing if you have the right information and know what to do. Okay, so let me, because we don't have a lot of time and it's Friday night, I believe all of you are like, wow, a long week. But I'm going to, let me start, I'll be sharing some of my slides and then I will stop sharing at some other points. But let me start by just sharing a little bit about what we do with Straightforward Financial Growth, which is part of the slides. So we do many different things with SFFG, but in terms of our vision with Straightforward Financial Growth is to help 1 million people change their financial story to the next generation. What does that mean? We think that God has given us some very simple, repeatable methods or things to do that can change people's lives. And we want 1 million people to change their financial story to the next generation. The Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance for children's children. So what we mean is that we don't want your children or their children to worry about the things you worried about as far as money is concerned. When you spend your whole time trying to figure out where the next meal is going to come from, or where your rent is going to come from, or just barely surviving, it is unlikely you're going to be thinking bigger things. Like nowadays, people are going to the edge of space and back in a couple of minutes. Now, people who are struggling to pay rent are not thinking those kind of things. So we have to practice our disciplines now to at least give our children an opportunity at real significance. We must win the war of money to give our children an opportunity at real significance and to give their children an opportunity at real significance in this world. So that's why we are targeting 1 million people to change their financial story to the next generation. And we do that through coaching, through masterminds, which is like a group experience for about 8 weeks with other people. And during that experience, you get to practice these principles. You get to practice the principles of straightforward financial growth. Of course, we also distribute the books, and lots of people have read the books and they've found them to be very, very helpful to kickstart or to jumpstart their financial stories. My own story is my mother took me to boarding school. I'm the last of 6 children. So my mom took me to boarding school in primary 4, that's P4. And when we got there, I'd already lost my dad, so it was single mom. We got there, she gave me pocket money, which was supposed to last me the whole term. Well, by the evening, by the time I went to bed that night, I'd used up all my liquidity. I'd used up all my cash. I had no money. Thankfully, the boarding school I was taken to, you could survive without money because they served all the meals. But that was very telling. So I had absolutely no money by bedtime, having arrived around 3 p.m. So of course I went to school, finished primary, finished secondary, went to uni, did architecture, did 5 years, finished arch school, and then started working. And I worked for 9 years. And after 9 years of work, I attended a talk like the one you're attending right now, and it hit me that the same blueprint that had been operational in P4, where I used up all my money before the day was over, was still operational 9 years after university, having a family, wife and 2 children at the time. Now we have 3. It was still operational. I had nothing. Someone posted on Facebook, and you know, there's people who like to joke, and they said, describe your financial situation in a song. So one went straight to the beginning of the scriptures and said, in the beginning, there was nothing. And they said, oh, at least for you. And then someone else described it, very interesting ones, but the one that was the best was Jesus wept. So you can go ahead in the comments and describe your financial situation in a scripture. Yeah. But Jesus wept. Wow, that was the one that really knocked me out. So does Jesus weep when he looks at your finances? Is all of heaven crying at the sight of your financial situation? I've recently started saying things like, of course, the Bible calls all of us to be helpful to the poor. That's, as Christians, that's close to God's heart. But the first stage towards helping the poor is by, first of all, not being one. The first stage towards helping the poor is by not being one. Now there are these guys who are commenting. If you are just watching us like on YouTube and you're not on the Zoom call, you're missing all the fun because I cannot contain the comments here. Wow, I look up to the hills where my help comes from. Interesting. Foxes have holes. Guys, let's get serious. We don't inspire synergy. They forsook him and fled. So the first stage towards helping the poor is by, first of all, not being one. Because if you're a lifesaver at a pool and you are sinking and you are the one that's drowning, then you're not going to be able to help anyone who's drowning. So it's time to stop lifesavers from drowning. It's time to get the church getting our financial act together. It's time for you to understand how critical the issue of personal finance and personal financial success is to you as a kingdom operator. It's time for you and I to understand that right now souls are for purchase. Souls are for purchase. If you don't have money, you cannot participate effectively in bringing people into the kingdom. All right. Someone said weeping may endure for a night. Wow. Anyway, so souls are for purchase. there's a certain country whose name starts with a letter of the alphabet U, where a new mosque was built on every village in 10 years' time. You don't need any guesswork to understand whether the number of believers in that faith has gone up in that country. Souls are for purchase. You've never seen a Chiwempe mosque. People from Uganda understand the term Chiwempe, temporary structure. So that's why we are serious about this thing called finance. Finance. The difference between concern and compassion is money. You can be concerned about the portals. You can be concerned about the children not going to school. You can be concerned about the people who are going to bed hungry. You can be concerned about all those things, but that's where it ends. In order for you to move from concern to compassion, you must have the resources. You must have the finances. You must have the money to do it. That's why the church is full of concerned people who can't do anything, because we don't have true compassion. We lack compassion because we lack the resources. And the people with the resources don't have compassion. So all we are left with is concerns. All right. So you must understand that this is a kingdom critical issue to understand how money works. Anyway, I'll stop the lecture and let's get into some practicals as I was sharing. And so the essentials of it's easy. You see, you must have someone to help you misunderstand it. So as far as money is concerned, you get it, you keep it, and you grow it. You get it, you keep it, you grow it. Get it, keep it, grow it. And as you repeat that cycle of getting it, keeping it, and growing it, that's how you become wealthy. You become wealthy by, first of all, figuring out how to get money. There are three ways to get money. Either you inherit it, or you marry into it, or you work for it. Looking at least on the people on Zoom, I figured that most people here are going to have to work for it. Okay, so you get it. And then of the money you get, you learn how to keep some. And of the money that you keep, and the point of keeping the money is figuring out how to grow it. So you get it, you keep it through savings, and you grow it through investment so that you get cash flow or passive income, which increases your getting it. I'm going, in a short while, I'll show you a little bit of that detail of how that works. About getting it, most people are deceived into thinking that your income is determined by your boss or whoever signs your check, which is a lie. It is not. It is not. T. Harv Eker, in his book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, says that you shall be compensated according to the value that you bring to the market. You are the one who brings the value to the market. You are the one who is compensated. The amount of money you're making today is determined by one person. That is you. No one else is responsible for your income apart from you. You see, when people have allowed themselves to unlock their brains about this issue, I've coached people who have increased their income 10 times in 6 months. 10 times in 6 months, just by having their brain switched on. It's about income streams. Sunday Adeleja, in his book, one of his books, says that rich people, the difference between rich people and poor people is that rich people convert their time into tangible products and services. Rich people convert their time into tangible products and services. So for you to get wealthy, everyone has 24 hours. But for you to get wealthy, it's about your conversion rate. At what rate can you convert money, rather convert minutes into money? What's your minute to money conversion ratio? Okay, so the level at which you can convert time to wealth will determine how wealthy you become. One person will make 1 million shillings in a month, another person will make 1 million shillings in 2 hours. They are not going to be at the same level of wealth. So the time factor is important. In our SFFG trainings, there's something we call the value for the minute. What is your value for the minute? If you get all the money that you're paid, if you get all your overall income for the year and you divide it by 12 to get a monthly rate average, and then you divide it by 20 to get a daily rate, and then you divide it by 10 to get an hourly rate, and then you divide it by 60 to get a minute rate, which we call the value for the minute. And if you're in Uganda, if you divide that by 3,600 to get it in dollars, how much is that? What is your value for the minute? That determines how much money you can make. And your deception, your problem is thinking that your job is responsible for your income. This deception especially comes from people who used to be bright in school like me, because I used to be a bright kid in school. And then you quickly realize that where you sat in class, because the bright student sat at the front, will not determine where you sit on the airplane. I'll just repeat that for someone. Where you sat in class won't determine where you sit on the plane. So you find all the noisemakers who used not to even listen to the teacher. You were one of the top students. While they are ushering you to your seat, you know, like 55H, those ends near the kitchen, you're passing all the noisemakers in business class, because you don't understand that academic excellence has nothing to do with financial well-being. You must understand how money works. It's not the same thing as academics. That's why you know about Mansa Musa, Empire of Dahomey, Catohon Method, Saskatchewan, and all the other stuff you studied in school, but your balance sheet has nothing. So you need to educate yourself. So one of the ways you can start quickly educating yourself is to understand that you determine your income. You, nobody else. How do you do that? By solving problems. Mike Murdoch says entrepreneurs are people who solve problems for profit. The more problems you solve, the more money you make. If you're broke, it means you're not solving enough problems, or you're not solving enough problems for the right people in the right places at the right prices. If you do that, money will never be a problem. So you start by solving problems and you start making money. And then what happens after is critically important, because a lot of people make money, but they don't know where it went. They can't tell you what happens to it. So this is the complete wealth cycle. You have an income, and when that income comes in, it's going to take one of two directions: expenses, where you have a little explosion over there in red, or savings. The money you spend, you can't grow. It only grows in the pockets of whoever it is that you're giving it to give you services and goods. The only money that is yours that you can actually grow is your savings. So expenses into savings. Now, if you save for a rainy day, which is a terrible thing, you're waiting for the rainy day to come, and then you'll have expenses and you'll come back to nothing. But your savings can take two directions. Either you save for a rainy day to spend, or you save to invest. In other words, you save to purchase assets. I hope people understand what I'm saying. So you get an income by solving problems, you save money, I recommend not less than 20%, and then you purchase assets with your savings. Now, if you purchase lousy assets, you're waiting for a really tough day to come and you liquidate, also known as selling, and then your assets will end up in expenses. Good assets are the ones that produce cash flow. You must have cash flow producing assets. Assets that don't produce cash flow are not good assets. So when you get that cash flow from your assets, that's your new income. Don't go to Dubai again to spend the money from your cash flow. You tithe 10% and reinvest 90%. That's how it works, because you already have a working income. So you find that as you go around this wealth cycle over time, you are going to become wealthy, and money will never, ever be your problem. Now, there's a little bit of a vision I want to sell you here. It's a 2020 vision. And here is how it comes. It has to do with that. It has to do with that. Get it? keep it and grow it. If you increase your annual income by 20% every year, one, you can do that. I've been doing that quite successfully every year. Since 2018, I've been increasing my annual income by 20% as a minimum. One, you need to have a target. You need to decide how much money you're going to make before you start making it. If you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every single time. So increase your annual income by 20%, and then of all your money that you make, save 20% of your income for investments. And then once you're buying assets through investments, make sure that your investment portfolio is growing at a rate of at least 20% per annum. So 20% annual return on investment growth of your investment portfolio. So if you do that, those three, 20% increase in income every year, 20% savings of your income for investment, and 20% growth of your investment portfolio. I'm seeing very, very good comments in the chat. Thanks so much, guys. Well, continue to comment. You're helping me make sense of a lot of what we are doing. Okay. So 20-20-20, that's how it works. If you catch that vision, money is not going to be your problem at all, at all, at all, at all, I assure you. Now, let me move into something else here quickly and see how we can redeem that time. So you understand, you're making money, you're increasing your income by increasing your income streams. Give yourself a target. Make sure that you have at least 10 income streams. At worst, 10. 10 sources of income. Some of my friends have like 30. When we started this whole coaching thing, they had like 3. Now the person has 30. You can surely have 10. Okay? The more income streams you have, likely the more money you're going to make. And then of all your income, save 20%. Why do we say 20%? Pharaoh had a dream, 7 thin cows ate up 7 fat cows. Joseph was brought in, he saved the nation. How did he do it? He told Pharaoh, find a wise man who will keep 20%, a fifth of all the grain during the years of plenty, which will save the country in the years of scarcity. When you're working somewhere between age 20 and age 60, those are your years of plenty. That's the time to save and invest 20% of your income so that in your latter years, between 60 and 100, or whenever you want to go to heaven, you have money. The reason most people die soon after they retire from formal employment or from the formal sector is they run out of resources to stay on earth, and so you just have to go to heaven. So if you don't want to hasten your exit to heaven after you stop engaging in the formal sector, you should be saving 20% and investing it. And then when you stop the direct engagement in the formal sector, then you have enough money to stay around. Otherwise, I know, I'm a pastor, so I know about this whole problem of people dying somewhere between 60 and 65 when they've left the formal sector, because I attend funeral services and funerals of my members' parents. So it's a very serious thing. Don't take it as a joking matter. So 20-20-20. Let me see if we can start to move towards making sense of this conversation. Now, well, by the way, you can be asking questions in the chat, okay? So that Ariho Kamara says, heaven is our home, but we are not homesick. Wow, I love you too. Now, here's a simple money management plan that my wife and I started doing once we started practicing this. 10% tithe to the church, 20% savings for investments, 10% giving to other causes, because as long as you're around here, you have family, you have friends, you have other causes coming up, you need to have a percentage set up already for giving to that, and 60% expenses. And realize that when we started doing this, what 100% used to do, 60% could do well, and then we started saving some money for investment. Right now, I think that our our whole outlook has changed. We are probably giving 30%, investing about 40%, and only spending 30%. And our dream is to get to a point where we are investing up to 60%, 60 to 70%. So right now we're giving about 30%, we're investing about 40%, and we are only spending about 30% of our income. So you can't grow wealth with spending. Okay, so you can copy this management plan. You can take a screenshot of it wherever you are and try and start with this. But whatever you do, please make sure you're saving at least 20%, and hopefully you're tithing 10% to your local church, wherever you go to church. And then at least let's start there. Okay. Now, this is the cash flow quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. I'm out of time, so I won't talk about it much. But I'm going to come back to this investment scale, because this is what disturbs people. After I've saved my 20%, what do I do? By the way, you can only ask questions in the chat, because I don't think, because there are so many people in this group, you can't talk. So you can only ask questions in the chat, just clarifying that, so that we can see if we can answer them, if you have them. But then most people's problems is what to do with the money once it is saved. How do I make sure I am not, or there is a Q&A section, I've been told, so no worries. How do I make sure that I'm investing my money well? Someone missed a screenshot. Let me bring it back, and then I'm going to show you even another screenshot, which is even as important as the other one. So, okay, screenshots, here we go. So one, take a screenshot of that. If you are using your laptop, if you are using a MacBook, that should be Shift Command 3. I don't know about the other laptops, but if you're using a MacBook, that's Shift Command 3, take a screenshot. If you're using your phone, you know how to do that. Okay. Then I want you to take a screenshot of that, because you won't find that online. Take a screenshot of that. This is your overall strategic movement. Strategy and tactical, actually, both strategic and tactical, to get out of poverty. This is it. This works every single, it has worked for every person that I've taught it and they have practiced it. Every single one of them. No one is broke when they are practicing this stuff. All right. Now then take that. This is actually copyrighted to me. So the investment scale. So what do you do once you have your money that you're saving? How do you invest it? I say have 3 layers of investments. There's low risk, medium risk, and high risk. Low risk, medium risk, high risk. Now, low risk investment bring low return. Medium risk investments bring medium returns. And high risk investments bring high returns. Okay. Low return is 0 to 10% return on investment per annum. Medium is 11 to 25%, and high is 26 to 100%. Now, this is the East African context. You may find that in the West, these numbers are different. Now, what I like to say is have at least 50 to 60% of all your portfolio in low risk investments and low return, until you learn, until you become an experienced investor. Remember, you're not a water walker yet as an investor. 98% of all NSSF savers lose their money within 2 years or less, because they are first-time investors who have been given a lot of money, so they go and lose it. So make sure 50 to 60% is in low risk, low return investment. Then 30 to 35% medium risk, medium return, and only 10 to 15 should be high risk, high return. Now, what are low risk, low return investments in the East African context? That will be real estate. Real estate. It's stable, it's firm, it doesn't bring you a lot of return, but it is there. Medium risk would be financial instruments, bonds, treasury bills. I like especially mutual funds, especially the ones put out by these financial companies which are attached to those insurance companies, like UAP Investments, because they'll give you that unit trust umbrella fund at about maybe 11%, 12%, and yet you can recall it in 2 to 3 days if you see danger coming. which you can't do with a bond, you can't do with a treasury bill, you can't recall it that quickly, but you can recall money from a mutual fund quickly. Let's say high inflation is coming and you're able to detect it, you recall, you convert to dollars and keep your money and wait for whatever it is to pass. High risk could be equity in businesses. Your friend is starting a salon, you put money. The other has a fish farm, you put money. A restaurant, you put, that's high risk. Okay. So let's say if you had the billion shillings lying around, this is in Ugandan context, make sure that at least 5 to 600 million is in what? Is in real estate, maybe apartments or something. And about 300 million is in bonds or whatever, or that unit trust or treasury bills, or maybe you're in an, also investment clubs lie around here. The good ones where people ask tough questions and the committee can answer them. And then only 100 million should go into business and high risk ventures. Okay, now to demonstrate to you, let's say you spend 600 million on an apartment somewhere in Malawa, Bulindo area. 600 million will probably give you an apartment block of 4 apartments, which if you are letting out at about 700,000 per month times 4 is going to give you 2.8 million before taxes and complaints by the tenants. Okay, 600 million is giving you 2.8 million. Let's say you took 300 million and you at let's say, let me give you the minimum. 12 million is going to give you 12% per annum would be, and it's giving you 2.8 million before tax. Are you still there?
Yes, Apostle.
It looks like I was booted.
It looks like your screen stopped sharing. I don't know if you want to reshare it again.
Sorry, guys, it was my problem. It wasn't your problem, those who are on the call. It was my challenge. I think my network jumped out. I'm just scrolling through the comments to know at what point okay. Let me go back to the demonstration of the thing I was showing you. Apologies again. So I hope I'm still here. Lillian, keep helping me. Just
yes,
let me know
Apostle. Yes, you're there and your slides are
awesome.
up again. Yeah.
Awesome. So I was giving an example of, I hope everyone had understood low risk, medium risk, high risk. I was saying if you had, say, 1 billion shillings to invest, and you put 600 million of it in an apartment in Mulawabuli, Indo area, that will probably give you an apartment block of only 4 apartments of 2 bedrooms, rented at 700,000 per month each, which would give you about 2.8 million per month before taxes and complaints by the tenants. Okay, so complaints by tenants is going to eat out a lot of your money. And then there's so many different issues. People, maybe tenants who are delaying to pay or they haven't paid, then you evict them, then getting new tenants. Then when they leave, you have to repaint the apartment, touch it up, all of that. Security guard, rubbish, or whatever, collection, all of that. So you find that that 600 million is giving 2.8 million per month. And let's say you take 300 million and you put it in a unit trust or in any of those financial instruments on the lower end, because the higher end will be bonds at about 15%, but on the lower end at around 12%. At 12%, your 300 million is going to be giving you 3 million per month. 3 million per month. Now remember, 600 million is giving you 2.8 million, less than 300 million giving you 3 million per month. And so let's say you took your last 100 million and invested it with a friend, maybe whatever business they run, if they're able to give you, say, 3% per month return on investment, that will also give you 3 million. So you find that this 100 million is giving you 3 million, the 300 million is giving you 3 million, but the 600 million is giving you 2.8 million. Okay, so it just shows you the dynamics of what investment can be like sometimes. So, but this is my recommended counsel for spreading out your investment. Now, my time is completely up. Let me finish with this. Let me show you something here. If, say, you practice the things we teach in Straightforward Financial Growth, and let's say you earn 5 million shillings, okay, per month, and you're saving 20%, which is 1 million. At the end of the year, you'll have saved 12 million. There's zero return on investment because you're still saving it, but you have it there. In year 2, you still save 12 million, but the 12 million of last year invested at 12% will give you 1.44 million, which is the equivalent, if you spread it over a year, is 120,000 per month. Still, remember your income from work is 5 million. 120,000 is so little. It can't sustain you. So it's not time to quit your job in year 2. By year 3, you still save 12 million. Now your total investment at this time was 25.44. It is giving you a return of 3 million at 12% per annum. If you divide this into 12, it is 254,000 per month. Now what happens as you keep going like that, something incredibly magical happens in year 17. In year 17, your investments at 12% are now paying you more money than your boss is paying you per month. Because at that point, your return on investment from the previous year's total investment, which is 513 million.
Okay, we seem to have lost Apostle there briefly. As he comes back on, please put in your questions in the Q&A section, and when he comes back on, he's going to take them. But also the good news is we have breakout rooms after this. We have breakout rooms where you will be able to interact with the speakers further in detail. We'll have 3 breakout rooms for the 3 speakers that we have, and you will opt to join one of the breakout rooms, and the link to join the breakout.
So many people.
Yes, Apostle, welcome back. We lost you a bit. Hey, welcome back. We lost.
I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm back, but I've actually I've finished sharing the content. So over to you, Lillian.
Thank you very much, Apostle, for those.
Over to you, Lillian. I think I've finished sharing the.
Awesome sharing. Thank you for the thought-provoking nuggets that you've shared with us. As the first one, as you said, the first stage to helping the poor people is by not being one yourself. So let's purpose not to be poor, not to be among the poor. So put your commitment in the chat that I'm not going to increase on the population of the poor in Africa. Remember, we are the household of Africa, and we have to take ownership, identify with it, and kick poverty out of Africa if we can. And also remember to catch the Vision 2020. Do you have the Vision 2020? Have you caught the Vision 2020? remember that. I think the nuggets are being posted in the chat. I think Apostle, you're seeing everybody is posting there. The chat is full, is on fire. And yes, you can catch up the brief of the notes there if you missed anything. And remember, we have breakout rooms. So you're going to continue to have a chat with the Apostle and Mr. Kuana and also Council Joy. We have breakout rooms for each of them. A link to join the breakout rooms is going to be shared in the Q&A in the chat session. And remember that all of us are able to actually improve our income streams. And one of the things that he said is to know your minute to money conversion rate. If you know your minute to money conversion ratio, then you can improve your earnings and of course, increase on your revenue streams. He said a minimum 10 income streams. Okay, so as we continue the conversations, we are going to continue them in the breakout rooms and the chat, and the link to the breakout room is going to be shared in the chat section. Some announcements as we wait to log into the breakout sessions. Remember, tomorrow we have the Inspire Kids starting at 11 a.m. So please make sure that your kids are logged in. We have the conference registration pack that you can subscribe to and just register yourself for that as well. And tomorrow we start at 6 p.m. exactly, so that we have enough time. We have enough time for that. And still remember that the questions are still going to be answered. Apostle Mose is still on. I just post your questions in the Q&A section and he's going to respond to them. And also you're going to find him in the breakout room as well. We thank you very much, Apostle Mose, for gracing this occasion and for giving us all these nuggets. They're really practical. They're not rocket science, and they're very practical. And I believe if each of us follow this, we are going to prosper. Get the money, keep the money, grow it, and indeed you're going to prosper. We are all going to prosper.